Yo, in this video we're going to talk about CAGED, the CAGED chords, and how we can use those open chord shapes to play a bunch of different versions of the same chords and connect them from all the way down here to all the way up here, all over the entire neck. So the first things first, you need to learn your open chords. There's 5 of them: C, A, G, E, and D. If you don't yet know how to play your open chords, definitely go watch a YouTube video about it. You could search 5 open chords and there would be a ton of results that will teach you how to play these shapes. But you'll need to be familiar with them because I'm going to be moving those shapes all across the entire neck. But the fingerings are going to be a little bit differently because when we get away from the nut, we're going to have to, in some cases, bar. We're going to have to make a nut elsewhere on the fretboard with some of our fingers. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to look at each of those chords as not just chords, but chord shapes that we can play elsewhere. So we're going to look at a C-shaped chord, and an A-shaped chord, and a G-shaped chord, and an E-shaped chord, and a D-shaped chord. And we're going to play all of those 5 chords in each of those 5 shapes, starting with the C chord. Now the first thing that you need to know is that these chord shapes present themselves in the order CAGED. They always spell the word CAGED, C-A-G-E-D. So, from our C-shaped C chord, we're going to play an A-shaped C chord. Now this is going to be a C chord shaped like the open A chord. So we do that by playing the same shape but with C as the lowest note instead of A. So, if this is my open A chord where I just have my first finger barred on the 2nd fret of the D string, G string, and B string, I'm kind of muting the high E string here. All we have to do is move this shape up so the lowest note is right there. We do this by putting a bar or laying our ring finger down on the 5th fret of the D string, the G string, and the B string. So I've got 1st finger, 3rd fret A string, ring finger, 5th fret D string, G string, B string, and I'm kind of muting the high E string. So this is the same chord as this guy, our open C chord. It's just shaped like an A chord now. Each one of these shapes is connected to the shapes before it and after it by a note or 2. In this case, the note that our ring finger is on in our open C chord, the root, or C, that note stays the same. We just play it with our 1st finger instead of our ring finger, then we use our ring finger to make this bar. So we're going to move on and play all the rest of the chord shapes of C. So we just played a C-shaped C chord and an A-shaped C chord. C-A-G is going to come next. We're going to spell the word CAGED. A G-shaped C chord is what comes after the A-shaped C chord. And we're going to find this chord by connecting it to the A chord. We're going to look at the notes that are shared and then go from there. And that is this bar. The notes that we're playing with our ring finger, 5th fret, D string, G string, and B string, we're going to play those notes with our 1st finger. So we're going to replace that bar, we're going to replace our 3rd finger with our 1st finger, and then we're going to put our pinky on the 8th fret of the E string, and our ring finger on the 7th fret of the A string. So we have 8th fret E string, 7th fret A string, and then 5th fret D, G, B, where we're barring those 3 strings. Here is our G-shaped C chord, and it's kind of connected to our A-shaped C chord by way of these 3 notes. It shares this bar. We just put a different finger on it. Okay, after G comes E. The E-shaped chord is next. This one's really easy. It's the classic standard bar chord that we all know, right? We all learn this chord. It's one of the first things that we learn how to play after our open chords. Is a bar chord. We're going to play it from the same note that our pinky is on. So that's the note that's shared between the G-shaped chord and the E-shaped chord. So 8th fret E string, we build our standard bar chord. There is our E-shaped C chord. So there is C, A, G, E. Now is going to come D, the last of the 5 chord shapes. And we're going to find this chord by looking at the note that our pinky is on. In the bar chord, our pinky should be on the 10th fret of the D string. We're going to take this note and put our first finger there, 10th fret D string. That's where we're going to find the root of our D chord, our D-shaped chord. Second finger is going to go on the 12th fret of the G string. Pinky's going to go on the 13th fret of the B string. And our ring finger is going to go on the 12th fret of the high E string. So again, we have 10th fret D string, 12th fret G string, 13th fret B string, 12th fret high E string. And it's connected to that E-shaped chord by this note. This is the one that's shared between those two chords. So, there we have it. We have 5 different shapes of a C chord. Starting with C. Then we have an A-shaped C chord where we just kept the root note exactly the same. We just put our first finger on the same fret and introduced this bar here. Then we have a G-shaped chord where we replace that bar where our third finger was at with our first finger. Then we have our E-shaped chord where we start on the same note that our pinky was just on and we build our normal classic bar chord. Then we do our D-shaped chord by putting our first finger where our pinky's at, 10th fret D string. There you go. There is all 5 shapes of C. Okay, we're going to do this with all of the open chords. So we just did a C chord. Next is A. We're going to spell the word caged. Starting with our A chord. Now, our open A chord, our first finger is actually already on this bar. All we have to do to make this a G-shaped chord, pinky on the 5th fret of the E string, ring finger on the 4th fret of the E string, and we keep our bar in the exact same spot. So 5th fret E string, 4th fret A string, and then 2nd fret D string, G string, B string. From there, we're going to go to our E-shaped A chord, which is going to be a bar chord from the 5th fret of the E string. Same note that our pinky was just on in our G-shaped A chord. Now we have an E-shaped A chord. We're going to follow that up with a D-shaped A chord, which the note that our pinky's on, 7th fret D string. We're going to put our first finger there. Second finger is going to go on the, the 9th fret on the G string. Pinky's going to go on the 10th fret B string. And our ring finger is going to go on the 9th fret E string. 7th fret D string, 9th fret G string, 10th fret B string, 9th fret E string. Now, this shape, the D shape, is connected to the C-shaped chord by these 3 notes. 9th fret G string, 10th fret B string, 9th fret E string. But we're going to play them with a bar. We're going to bar our first finger on the 9th fret of the G string, B string, and E string. Then we're going to put our second finger on the 10th fret of the B string. That's how we're going to build our C-shaped chord. From there, we take our pinky, we put it on the 12th fret of the A string, and the 11th fret of the D string. So we have 12th fret A string, 11th fret D string. We have a bar on the 9th fret of the G, B, and E strings. And we have our middle finger on the 10th fret of the B string. There is our C-shaped A chord. So again, we spelled the word caged, only this time we started on A. So we had an A-shaped A chord, a G-shaped A chord, an E-shaped A chord, a D-shaped A chord, and then we start over again and start spelling the word caged again. C-shaped A chord. Next is G. We're going to start with our G chord, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to spell the word caged from this starting point. So G-E-D-C-A. That's what we're going to do. Here's our G chord. Our E chord that comes after the G chord is just going to be a bar chord from the same note that our second finger's on right now. We're We're going to bar 3rd fret with our first finger and play our classic standard bar chord. There's the E-shaped G chord. The note that our pinky is on, 5th fret D string, that's where we're going to put our first finger to build our D-shaped G chord. So 1st finger, 5th fret D string, 7th fret G string, 8th fret B string, and 7th fret high E string. Again, that's 5th fret D string, 7th fret G string, 8th fret B string, 7th fret high E string. There's our D-shaped G chord. Next is going to come the C-shaped chord, which shares these 3 notes, only we play it with a bar. Bar on the 7th fret of the G, B, and E strings, and then put your 2nd finger on the 8th fret of the B string. Pinky's going to come down on the 10th fret of the A string, and our 3rd finger is going to come down on the 9th fret of the D string. So we have 10th fret A string, 9th fret D string, 7th fret G string, 8th fret B string, and 7th fret E string, and we have our first finger barring the G, B, and E strings. There's our C-shaped G chord. So now we've started the word caged over again, C, next comes A. We're going to put our first finger on the same note that our pinky was on, 10th fret A string, and then our ring finger is just going to come down and do this nice little bar here on the 12th fret of the D, G, and B strings. So there's all our G chords in all 5 shapes. Next comes E. We're just going to go down the line. We've done C, A, G. Next is E. So starting from our open E chord, next is going to come our D-shaped E chord, which we're going to, this note, the 2nd fret on the D string, is where we're going to start our D-shaped E chord. We're going to put our first finger on the 2nd fret of the D string. 4th fret G string, 5th fret B string, and 4th fret high E string. So 2nd fret D string, 4th fret G string, 5th fret B string, and then 4th fret high E string. There is our D-shaped E chord. After D comes C. We start the word caged over again, and we're going to use the G string, the B string, and the high E string. We're going to keep those notes the same, except play them with a bar. Bar with your first finger on the 4th fret of those strings, G, B, and E, and then put your 2nd finger on the 5th fret of the B string. Pinky's going to come down on the 7th fret of the A string. Ring finger's going to come down on the 6th fret of the D string. So 7th fret A string, 6th fret D string, 4th fret G string, 5th fret B string, 4th fret high E string, where we have a bar on the 4th fret of the G, B, and E string. There's our C-shaped E chord. We've started the word caged over again, so after C comes A. We're going to put our first finger on the same note that our pinky was just on, 7th fret A string, and then lay our ring finger down on this bar on the 9th frets of the D string, G string, and B string. There's our A-shaped E chord. After A comes G, where we're going to use this bar, but play it with our first finger. So first finger on the 7th frets of the D string, G string, and B string. Pinky's going to come down on the 12th fret of the E string. Ring finger's going to come down on the 11th fret of the A string. So 12th fret E string, 11th fret A string, 9th fret D string, G string, and B string. There's our G-shaped E chord. So our last chord is D. Starting with our open D chord, after D comes C, we're going to play a C-shaped D chord by barring our first finger on the 2nd frets of the G string, B string, and E string. We're going to put our 2nd finger on the 3rd fret of the B string. Pinky's going to come down on the 5th fret of the A string. Ring finger's going to come down on the 4th fret of the D string. So 5th fret A string, 4th fret D string, 2nd fret G string, 3rd fret B string, 2nd fret, high E string. There's our C-shaped D chord. Now we've started the word caged over again, so after C is going to come A. We're going to put our first finger on that same note that our pinky was just on. We're going to lay our ring finger down on the 7th frets of the D string, G string, and B string. There is our A-shaped D chord. So 5th fret A string, 7th fret D string, 7th fret G string, 7th fret B string. After A comes G, where we're going to keep the notes that our bar is playing right now, but we're going to bar them with our first finger instead of our ring finger. We're going to put our pinky down on the 10th fret of the A, or the E string, sorry. Our ring finger is going to come down on the 9th fret of the A string. So we have 10th fret E string, 9th fret A string, 7th fret D string, 7th fret G string, 7th fret B string. There's our G-shaped D chord, and the last one is E, and this is our classic bar chord from the same note that our pinky's on right now. We're going to build a bar chord from the 10th fret of the E string. There's our E-shaped D chord. So, there it is. There is all 5 shapes of all 5 open chords. We played a C shape, an A shape, a G shape, an E shape, and a D shape of the chords C, A, G, E, D. So basically, all of these chords are connected, and the shapes are all exactly the same. By now you should really see how we just played the same 5 shapes in a bunch of different places on the neck. And wherever you put it, it's that chord. Whatever that root note is, it's a chord, it's a C-shaped chord of that note, or a G-shaped chord of that note. So those shapes, once you leave the lower area of the neck, right next to the nut, they no longer describe what the chord is, they describe what shape the chord is. And it's wherever you put that shape, that's what determines what the chord is. So here is my advice. I would encourage you to practice changing through these chord shapes, maybe even with a metronome. You could do it like this. You could set a metronome to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Where I went C shape, A shape, G shape, E shape, D shape. And you could do that with all of the 5 open chords. So that was C. Then you could do A shape, G shape, E shape, D, C. Then you could do G, G shape, A shape, D shape, C shape, A shape. Then E, E shape, D shape, C shape, A shape. Oops. Then the last one would be D. D shape, C shape, A shape, G shape, E shape. That would be an excellent way to practice what you have just learned. And what that's going to do for you is give you excellent command and, well, really, awareness. This is going to give you really, really solid fretboard awareness, where you'll be able to take any chord shape and be like, well, I know how that's connected to a shape that's right next to it. We can take that A-shaped chord and make it a C-shaped chord because they're connected by that note. Or we can make that A-shaped chord a G-shaped chord because I know they share that bar. So once you get comfortable making all of those chord changes relatively quickly, you're going to start to really see how chords are not just in one place. Your C chord is not just right there. Your G chord's not just right there. So on and so forth. Those chords are everywhere along the entire neck. There's many, many, many instances of every single chord. And once you start to see that, this will just open your world. This will really, really broaden your borders. Okay, I hope you got a lot from this video, and I will catch you next time. Thank you for watching. Peace out.